Well, if ever a scoreline doesn't tell the full story of a game that's taken place, it might just be Leicester City 0, Arsenal 2. The Gunners within 4 points of leaders Liverpool at the top of the table. Mark Donaldson, Janusz Michallik to go over this one. And the talk coming into the game following the injury to Kai Havertz, who would score the Arsenal goals? Well, the answer was nobody in the starting 11, Janusz. It was Mikel Merino off the bench. So Arsenal win this one 2-0 with 2 goals from the sub, Mikel Merino. Did they deserve it, first of all, before we get into the minutiae of what we saw?
They did. Yeah, it wasn't all that pretty. Listen, Mark, let's be honest here. I kind of enjoy that after a bad game when you're fighting and scrapping to stay, near Liverpool. After a game like this, I had, all the negative thoughts that I'm sure you and our viewers have. I had an obituary written for Arsenal already. Season over, done and dusted. Here was Liverpool keeping the door ajar for Arsenal with that draw against Everton. And, for most of the game, Arsenal was saying, nah, we don't want it. It's over. They looked deflated. There was no tempo. They almost looked defeated to a degree. They had zero idea how to break this team down, right? A team like Leicester City that hasn't kept a clean sheet in last 17 Premier League games, right? I mean, for the longest time, Arsenal has had one shot on target. And then in comes Mikel Merino, the hero. Who said they didn't sign a striker in January? So they signed him a little bit earlier. A player who really, I thought that maybe fighting for the starting 11, but he wasn't in that midfield for the most part. Came in and solved the problem. And fair play to him and to Arsenal, because they keep this going. There are issues, which I'm sure you're going to ask me about, sure, and we can talk about if this was good enough. But first and foremost, you've got to say that they've pulled themselves out of the abyss. They really have, Arsenal, and that's important.
I love the fact that absolutely nobody was talking about the guy who everyone is now talking about after the game, when before the game he wasn't even in the conversation.
No, nobody would feel, that's how football goes. How could you even come up with an idea that Mikel Merino
exactly
would be doing that, right?
That's why we love football, because in the build-up to this game, the Times of London this morning had a piece with William Saliba saying, I used to be a striker when I was a kid. In fact, he was coached by Kylian Mbappe's dad. Could he be the answer? And then you hear Calafiori played up front at training this week. He might be the answer. Before we get to all that, none of them were, by the way. Mikel Merino was the answer to the question that nobody asked. How do you think the front three that was selected did? So Raheem Sterling played on the left. Leandro Trossard was kind of given the centre forward role. And young Ethan Nwaneri played on the right-hand side. As a trio, then individually assess the performance.
Well, first and foremost, my expectations were low. How could they be high, right? I mean, those three have, I'm sure, never played together, which is of course always important, right? I mean, you look at Nwaneri, who was clearly the best Arsenal player on the pitch. Trossard, as we've seen, as a number 9, we've seen him there before. He was going to drift. He still wanted to be on that left-hand side, deliver a great cross for that second goal as well. And Raheem Sterling, his best time is behind him and has been for a long, long time. And actually, I didn't almost. Part of me didn't enjoy watching him struggle, because he did.
Sad, wasn't it?
I mean, it really was sad. Now, everybody has a different opinion about him, but here's a man that's played for every big team in this league, just about, right? And at times looked very good. Remember his early days where he struggled because, scoring was an issue for him. Once he moved to Manchester City, there was a time that he was very, very good. But today, when the team really needed him, right? Because that's the key issue here, that, there's virtually nobody to play. He really, really struggled. And had they drew this game, we would have been talking not just about Arsenal, but about Raheem Sterling. And perhaps, that's where it stops right now, because they found a way. But yeah, that didn't look cohesive. That didn't look great, because it couldn't. How could it?
As an audition, it wasn't good. With Raheem Sterling. He turned 30 in December. And I think going forward, you're looking for things, right? What can we take from that? I'm not sure Raheem Sterling is going to get another start until he can show, because he looked lost, Janusz. And look, there'll be some talk shows and radio phone-ins and internet chat saying, oh, he's washed up and whatever. Look, He's not the same as the kid that was at Manchester City that came through and did so well at Liverpool as well. But going forward, is he now going to be on the outside looking in? Because today seemed to prove he's not the answer. And Trossard at that left-hand side, whether it's Merino as a false nine and Nwaneri on the right, that could be what Mikel Arteta decides to do going forward.
Yeah, I mean, there's not that many options, Mark, right? No. I mean, there's no blueprint going forward for Arsenal. That's their issue right now. Yes, from now on, we're going to say, yes, Mikel Merino is going to be playing number 9. We'll see. I don't know. So, to some, there may be big expectations that all of a sudden he's going to continue doing that. And that's not going to be easy. Today was great for him because it's out of nowhere. Nobody expected that. But if Arsenal are to fight for the title, you're going to have Mikel Merino or whoever plays there scoring goals consistently. Otherwise, there's zero chance. And you look at this team, you look at the way they played, and are we sitting here watching this Arsenal, even winning Arsenal team, and you telling me that this team, no matter who plays where, is going to run the table for the rest of the season? Because it's hard to see. As much as I appreciated the way they finished that, they found a way. They dug very, very deep for that result to put pressure on Liverpool. It's hard to see with everybody that's missing and not many coming back anytime soon. It's hard to see this Arsenal team, getting out of a hole like this. You can do it against Leicester, but you won't be able to do it against bigger teams.
Look, you have to have a rock at the back. And if you don't concede, you only need one goal to win a game. And again, another clean sheet for Arsenal, whose defence is really good. They seem to have stumbled into this back four with Lewis Skelly on the left and obviously Saliba and Gabriel with Jurrien Timber on the right-hand side. So they're pretty strong at the back. It's a lot easier when you know you need one goal as opposed to your defence is going to concede. So goodness knows how many you need. But I want to focus on a second about Mikel Merino. Okay, 1 Premier League goal at Newcastle. His best at Real Sociedad in the top flight in Spain in La Liga was 5 in one season. 7 goals in the Segunda with Osasuna. Now, he's someone who he scored a winning goal for Spain against Germany at the Euros. He's 28 years old now. And they may have stumbled upon someone who might fill a gap. But could he be the answer going forward? Or what happens in Arsenal's next game if he's played there and he doesn't score and he has a Raheem Sterling's performance today? Do they then look elsewhere? What happens now going forward?
Yeah, as I said, no blueprint. You got to play it by feel. It's going to be him, for the next game or two, right? He's going to get that opportunity. If it's not him, you're going to continue to see Trossard or some other combinations in that because the choices are so limited. So I don't think that Mikel Arteta is going to sit there and say, what if Mikel, the expectations aren't going to be for that. Mikel Merino is capable of doing that because as we know, he was more, number 8 than he was number 6. And that's perhaps why with Partey and with Declan Rice, it was very difficult for Mikel Merino to fit him in the starting 11. I mean, he had to be sitting there very disappointed with himself, right? I mean, he didn't move to Arsenal to play a bit part as he did for the most part, but all of a sudden he comes in a moment of need, and that's what football's all about. That's great for players. I mean, Mikel Merino will never be number 9 long term, but I think right now he's proven himself very versatile and a player that in the future is going to play a big part as we thought he would for Arsenal Football Club. So, but if you ask the same question to Mikel Arteta, he probably give you a blank answer. Says, I don't know. We're just going to have to go by feel and by availability.
Yeah. Look, we can't look into the future. The next game, then the likelihood is it's going to be Mikel Merino playing in that false 9. But today's star for Arsenal was a 17-year-old kid by the name of Ethan Nwaneri. Fearless, just a joy to watch. Reminds me of a young Bukayo Saka. And I was looking when he made his debut. He was kind of 18 years old, 17, 18 for Arsenal as well. What did you see from Nwaneri today and so far since he's come into the first team with Arsenal that you really, really like?
Well, I mean, the funny part with young players is that sometimes either they cave under pressure or they just don't know any better. I think that's, he just doesn't know. He knows he's good. He goes out there. He doesn't feel pressure, which is important because, at a young age, you could feel the responsibility of playing, not just in the Premier League, but for a club like Arsenal. I mean, great one-on-one. That left foot is very similar to Saka. I saw, because Odegaard didn't look great when he came back from injury, but the injury wasn't a problem for him. The problem for him that he's missing Saka. I mean, those two. I mean, really, I look at Odegaard, and almost every time that he has the ball when Saka's available, they have this, understanding without words that is incredible. And here I saw Odegaard, who played very well, even in the moments where Arsenal were woeful, which is most of the game. Odegaard was looking right. I don't think he played badly. I just think that he didn't have the players that he feels comfortable playing with. So I would look for Odegaard to continue to develop that partnership with Nwaneri, because he is in many ways very similar to Saka. A player that can go to the byline, could deliver the cross, right? The left-footed cross, we've seen it from Saka on numerous occasions, and the cross for the first goal was absolutely outstanding. Always looks for that. So look, this is a positive. And now I just think the older players around him have to almost give him even more confidence. That's why I sort of envision Odegaard kind of looking and saying, yeah, we always knew that he's good enough, right? But now he's the sort of player that's going to have to carry us there. And that's an additional pressure. How do we help him? And I think if he stays close to Odegaard, I think we're going to see even a better version of Nwaneri than we're seeing right now.
He's just a joy to watch. But compare and contrast, because Bukayo Saka came into the side as an 18-year-old for his Premier League debut against Fulham as a late sub on New Year's Day 2019. Didn't play again that season, and then started the majority of games next season. Slightly different here because of necessity. There's nobody else really until Saka gets back. So how careful do you have to be with a 17-year-old kid that will want to play in every single game, but with games coming thick and fast, and him maybe having to play? Is that a dilemma for Mikel Arteta?
No, it can be. I mean, this is the business end of the season, right? I mean, you're still behind Liverpool. If Liverpool, which we think they'll beat Wolves at home, right, it goes back to 7 points. No margin for error right now. You write his luck. I mean, he's still young, so you always hope that he, this amount of games, it's not like he's played the entire season. So, there's not going to be saving him. I think in some games, I suppose, if Arsenal are ahead and the game is safe, you're of course going to take him off. But he starts from now until the end of the season in all the Premier League games. Champions League probably as well, but again, I mean, not a lot of wiggle room there with Arsenal, right?
When Saka's back, does he go to the left and Saka get his usual spot on the right, or what do you think?
He could be, if he's in good form. I think that Mikel Arteta will absolutely try to find a place for him. I also think that when Bukayo Saka comes in, I don't know if there's going to be an expectation that he's going to hit the ground running immediately. So maybe bring in Saka slowly into it. Maybe these two kind of interchange. But if Nwaneri continues to play the way he plays right now, it's going to be very difficult to take him out of the lineup. And you're right. I think even if Martinelli, I think he's going to be playing, even if it's on the other side.
What about Leicester? Fans not happy, 14th minute protests against the board, against the director of football. No real signings have been made. They've got Ruud van Nistelrooy as the boss. What did you make of their performance today?
Well, I thought it was good enough to get something out of it, right? I mean, you may say that until the very end, they deserved the point out of it. In terms of their organization, they defended well. As I've said, I mean, it was just one shot on target, no real chances before the goals came in for them. So that organization was there. At times they've gone forward. You could say that, in the first 50, 60 minutes, there were half chances here and there, but you could say that they had the better of the chances to a degree. And Didi's header comes to mind. I think that was one of them. Remember Lewis Kelly? I mean, that cross for IU across the 6-yard box.
Great challenge.
It was a great challenge last moment because I think Di Cordova-Reid was on the far post, and he certainly puts that away from a yard out. So you could say that Leicester played as good as you could imagine them playing at this moment, having the season that they're having. So, a real dagger, this one.
Yeah, not to be for them, though. But Arsenal, by any means, just get the 3 points today. Who had the striker in their side? Leicester did. They couldn't score. Arsenal had a central midfielder playing in a more advanced role. Maybe that was his old position. His new position, maybe more advanced, as Mikel Merino came off the bench and scored twice late on as Arsenal got 3 much-needed points. Bye for now.